Wow. Welcome to the first joint celebration of the Capital Region Unitarian Universalists of New York. English mathematician and physicist Isaac Newton said, "We build too many walls and not enough bridges." A Swahili proverb agrees, "It is better to build bridges than walls." For the past 5 years, the ministers and the presidents of our 4 congregations in Glens Falls, Saratoga Springs, Schenectady, and Albany have been hard at work, tearing down walls and building bridges between us. Another familiar proverb says, "Never cross a bridge until you come to it." Today, we have come to that bridge. Are you ready to cross?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right. If so, may this celebration today complete the bridges between us. Today, may we be bold and cross these bridges. And today, may we discover a shared purpose only to be found by crossing over together. Today, let us now join together in the common celebration of life and love that bridges all our hearts. Let us now rise as you are willing and able and sing our opening hymn, "Gather the Spirit."
We are gathered here as many individuals and one body to light our common chalice this morning. This is a symbol of our commitment to one another and to the spirit of life. Before us are 4 chalices from each of the 4 congregations and 1 chalice, which is our common chalice. So we begin with Glens Falls.
We honor our faith, which unites us as Unitarian Universalists.
Schenectady.
We honor our 4 congregations, which have come together as one.
Albany.
We honor each individual and the gifts each of us brings.
And Saratoga Springs.
We join together to seek the blessings of community.
May we create a circle of love this morning, and may it be ever expanding as we light our common chalice.
We invite you all to listen to our story with the heart of a child. It is the story, of course, of stone soup. Once upon a time, or maybe not so long ago, a wayfaring stranger from high atop Mount Marcy wandered into a village. A village nestled in just where the Mohawk meets the Hudson. She was tired from her long journey, and she thought,
this will be a nice place to rest my weary bones and have a nice supper.
the stranger knocked on the door of a house and said,
I'm a wayfaring stranger from high atop Mount Marcy. Do you have a bit of food for me that you could share?
The villager said,
Huh, we barely have enough for ourselves.
and slammed the door. The stranger knocked on a second door. And she said,
Hello, I'm a wayfaring stranger from high atop Mount Marcy. Do you have a bit of food that you could share with me?
We barely have enough for ourselves.
and he slammed the door. The stranger knocked on a third and a fourth door, and a third and a fourth time she heard,
We barely have enough for ourselves.
and every time they slammed the door. The stranger stood for a moment and thought. Just then, a young girl came out of one of the houses, and she said,
You look very sad. What's wrong?
Well, I'm a wayfaring stranger from high atop Mount Marcy, and I am tired and hungry, but no one in this village seems to have any food to share with me.
the little girl sighed.
My family doesn't have much food either. No one here does. Everyone just does what they can to take care of themselves.
The stranger thought for a moment, and then smiled at the girl.
You know what? I have an idea.
The stranger suddenly exclaimed.
I'm going to make stone soup.
I've never heard of someone eating stone soup before.
Remarked the girl. The stranger winked at the girl and looked around.
Let's see, I need some twigs to start a fire, and a pot, and some water.
There's twigs over there under that maple tree.
The girl said as she pointed.
And does your mom have a pot, maybe? Yeah?
And there's water in the well.
Excellent.
The girl ran to her house while the stranger gathered some wood to start a fire. When the girl returned, the stranger filled the pot with water and set it on the flames.
Thank you. Nice pot. And a spoon. Sweet. So, now I need 3 stones.
And she went to get them. She ran to the river's edge and found 3 perfectly oval, perfectly smooth stones.
Very nice.
She brought them back to the wayfaring stranger, who dropped them plunk, plunk, plunk into the simmering water.
Now, if only I had some salt and pepper.
Mused the stranger. The girl ran to her house to get salt and pepper to season the soup. Now by this time, the villagers were sticking their noses out of their doors to see what was going on. And when the girl returned with the salt and pepper, she also returned with her mother, who said,
I've never heard of stone soup. I want to see how this is made.
as she approached, the stranger stuck in a spoon and tasted her bubbling soup.
You know, it's not bad, but it still needs something.
From across the town square, the stranger heard someone say,
I have some carrots. Maybe these will be good in the soup.
the stranger thanked the villager for his gift, added the carrots, and tasted the soup again.
It's not bad, but it still needs something.
From across the town square, the stranger heard someone say,
I have onions. These might be good in the soup.
the stranger thanked the villager for his gift, added the onions, and tasted the soup again.
You know, it's not bad, but it still needs something.
I have potatoes. These might be good in the soup. Good.
The stranger thanked the villager for her gift, added the potatoes, and tasted the soup again.
Not bad, but it still needs something.
Soon, villagers from all up and down the road were bringing food. Chickens and tomatoes, pasta and herbs, mushrooms and cabbages and beans. Each time, the stranger thanked the villagers for their gift, added the ingredients, and tasted the soup again. As the soup cooked, the stranger noticed that the villagers hadn't run back to their houses, but instead were talking and laughing. She smiled and stirred the soup. After a while, she announced,
Stone soup is ready.
and she began to serve bowls of delicious, rich, and meaty soup to the villagers. The celebration lasted long after the soup was gone, with the villagers telling stories, sharing gifts, and singing songs. And after that night, the villagers always came together to share their food, and their stories, and their talents. At any time, a wayfaring stranger from high atop Mount Marcy, or anywhere for that matter, wandered into the village where the Mohawk meets the Hudson. The girl got out her mother's big pot and made stone soup.
You've heard the choir make music together. We're now going to make music together by singing Jubilate Deo. And Eric Griffith is going to introduce this for us.
We have much to be joyful for this morning. Take your order of service, please. Jubilate Deo is in there. And we are going to do it as a 6-part round. And yes, we are. We experimented with the choir at our one. This choir has had one rehearsal. One rehearsal. Anyway, we're going to do it this way. We're splitting the choir into 1, 2. So they will start it. This is section 3. I'm going to cue you all. Don't panic. I'm going to put on my track shoes. This is 4. You are 5. Hello. You are 6. Okay? Now we're going to practice it first. We're going to sing it through. Now, if you look at your music, you'll see that the second part comes in. You have only 2 notes before the second part and then the third come in. So you really have to be ready. We're going to sing it through twice, not as a round, but just the tune. And then we'll go right into the round. Sing the round twice. Okay. Everybody.
Celebrate the bridges we are building and to recognize the special contributions each congregation brings to this effort. The creative panels you'll be seeing were designed by Dan Sakelic from our congregation. Thank you, Dan. As our panel suggests, Albany was the first of our congregations to be established. So we bring longevity and a great deal of tenacity in having survived. The Unitarian Church was established in Albany in 1842. Early parishioners included future President Millard Fillmore and Congressman Hermanus Bleecker. We moved to our present location in 1917, buying the land and building the church with the financial assistance of the American Unitarian Association. In exchange for their aid, the AUA outlined just what type of church we could build, even requiring that they approve the architect's plans. Some things have changed. In our long history, we built the bridge to Universalism decades before the 1961 merger of our denominations. Albany Unitarians affiliated with the New York State Convention of Universalists in 1928, and shortly afterwards began calling their church Unitarian Universalists. In addition to longevity, Albany brings its very significant urban location. We are just blocks from the state capitol, and being a beacon of Unitarian Universalism in the capital city of New York is very much a part of our identity, our social justice history, and our goals for the future. An example of the value of our location and attendant long-standing attention to state politics was the Committee on Progressive Legislation, begun in 1969. With babysitting provided at our site, this group of impressive women, including some from Schenectady, became effective lobbyists on issues concerning abortion rights, family planning, and social welfare. Indeed, in 1970, when abortion was legalized in New York, the Committee on Progressive Legislation, or CPL, was credited by the New York Times as having helped change the minds of more than one legislator. We continue our goal of publicly championing liberal causes. We have been a leader in the issue of gay rights and marriage equality. 5 years ago, Sam performed weddings for 2 same-sex couples in our sanctuary. And although the legislature has not yet passed the necessary laws to legalize these unions, the fact that the weddings took place in a UU church just blocks from the state capitol did not go unnoticed by the media. Finally, Albany offers the resource of our marvelous new building. We were delighted to host District Assembly this past weekend, to have rooms for meals, large gatherings, the displays, and the many workshops. The jewel of our new space is Emerson Community Hall, and it truly has become a significant venue for the Capital District. Gloria Steinem, Albany Mayor Jerry Jennings, and the Lake George Opera Company are among those we have hosted this past year for well-attended and quite diverse community events. We love our new space, and if you haven't already done so, we hope you will cross the bridges, come to Albany, and visit us.
Good morning. As the president of the Saratoga Springs congregation, let me first bid you a warm welcome to our city. I fell in love with Saratoga Springs upon moving here, and I hope that you will linger after the service and have lunch or take a walk down Broadway and allow the charms of this city to tempt you as they continue to tempt me. Now, our minister, Linda Hardy, is not with us today. She is on sabbatical, touring religious sites in Italy, Greece, and Turkey. But I sense that she is with us in spirit. This morning, we speak of building bridges between our congregations. My own sense is that the bridges have already been constructed. We just need to further invite and encourage their use. The Saratoga Springs congregation is a product of these bridges. The seeds of our church come in part from the vines of our neighboring congregations. I know that we have members that formerly attended in Glens Falls and Schenectady. Our minister has previously served in both of these congregations. And I suspect that we have roots that trace to Albany as well. We are the youngest of the congregations and have benefited from the consolidated wisdom of the rest. The congregation in Albany is 167 years old. Schenectady is 108. And Glens Falls is turning 50 soon. Our congregation, organized in 1996, is barely a teenager by comparison. We are one of the few successful New Start congregations in the denomination. We are living the dynamics of church growth. But our development did not come at the expense of any other congregation. We simply added to the presence of Unitarian Universalism in the Capital District. We have not drained resources, we have enriched resources. As a rising tide lifts all boats, so too will the rise of Unitarian Universalism in this region lift all of our congregations. We do not compete, we complement. We do not tangle, we can tango instead. This morning, I see an impressive richness of spirit in this very room. I see a depth of common understanding about spirituality, about religious tolerance, about social justice. This morning, we are one. May we harness the synergy and symbiosis in this room to further promote our shared religious values. May we sing our song more loudly so that others might hear the sweetness of our message. May we live our religion such that we cross our bridges to nourish ourselves and to feed the souls of so many more that seek but do not know what we have to offer. May it be so.
I have the honor of representing the Glens Falls congregation. My name is John Larson. I currently serve as the Vice President of the Board. I'm standing in for our Board President, Lily Gilbert, who couldn't be here today. One of the things I think I found a tie that kind of matched our board. There are many shared values that bridge and connect our UU congregations. An important example is our common goal for promoting peace and harmony within ourselves, our congregations, and around the world. I feel pride in the efforts that our church has made to pursue this goal over the last 5 years. In 2004, a visionary futures committee was formed to determine the vision and priorities that our congregation had for our church. The results of this study were presented in 2005. The committee found that one of our congregation's highest priorities included exploring options to create a peace center, offering peace-related resources, and pursuing activities that would promote peace. In response to this finding, a Peace Center task force was formed to begin an 18-month exploration of these options. In the spring of 2006, our minister, Dean Perkins, began offering courses in nonviolent communication based on the work of Marshall Rosenberg. NVC, as it's known, provides a compassionate way to communicate with others even in the midst of conflict. In December 2006, our church hosted its first Peace Fair, which has since become a yearly event. The Peace Fair invites all area groups with a connection to peace to participate. At this event, information is shared, crafts, food, and desserts are offered, and music often fills the air. In April 2007, our congregation passed the addition of an 8th principle based on peace. This 8th principle states, "We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Glens Falls, covenant to affirm peaceful resolution and to promote the practice of nonviolent transformation of conflict in our daily lives." In September of 2007, the Peace Center Committee held its first official meeting. Through the work of this committee, the Adirondack Foothills Peace Center was formed. The Peace Center, which is open to all, has a broad vision. It is intended to be a place to create effective, peaceful change, develop peaceful ideals, and to practice compassion. Events that have been facilitated by the Peace Center have included interfaith peace vigils, holiday peace fairs, a Buddhist retreat, an Eckhart Tolle workshop, and meditation centers. Most recently, the center sponsored the Albert Fowler Series, Speaker for Peace Series, named in memory of one of the founders of our Peace Center. Guest speakers have included Sheldon Solomon, a Skidmore professor who developed the terror management theory, and Bhante Womela, a traveling Buddhist monk from Sri Lanka. The Peace Center continues to grow to expand its vision. I'm proud to be part of a faith that values peace and compassion so deeply. And I'm moved to be in the presence of so many who have embraced these ideals. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly and Duncan. I am proud to be speaking for the Schenectady congregation today as we gather our spirits together in celebration of our joined community. Our separate fires come together to kindle one flame, the flame of commitment, courage, and hope. The Schenectady congregation has a long-standing history of upholding our values. In the 1930s, it took courage to start what is now known as the Upper Hudson Valley Planned Parenthood. We did it in the 1930s. We set aside our fears when we put our building up for collateral in order to start the Center for Law, Order, and Justice. We bring those values today. Let the heritage of the Schenectady congregation be a model of the courage we can embrace as we join together to take on the injustices of the world. The First Unitarian Society of Schenectady has a great sense of pride in our spaces. Our sanctuary was dedicated in 1961, the same year as the merger between the Unitarians and the Universalists. Embedded in our many aspects of our architecture is the image of interlocking circles. We hold our weekly services underneath what is affectionately known as the Whisper Dome, another circle. This is a symbol that resonates for us at BUS. I think it is very appropriate that we bring the symbol of the circle with us today, as today is the day we symbolically open our circle of community wider to include each other. We have the opportunity this morning to think of our spiritual home, not as the buildings where we meet, but as the far-reaching community which supports us and which we serve. We have 6 generations with us today. What a blessing. Our circle is open to all generations, not to tolerate each other, but to welcome each other into our lives as people of worth, as souls worth getting to know. When we asked our young people what they wanted us to bring with us today from our congregation, our children said that what was important to them was the people. I think this is so appropriate because it is people who create the ripples that take our values into our community. It is the people that keep our chalice fires burning at home to be a beacon for others to find their way to us as sanctuary for the first time, or the way back home. This spiritual home, this home without borders, is what will allow us to continue to be that beacon.
Let us join together our hearts and our minds in the spirit of meditation and prayer. O Spirit of transforming love that flows around and through us, we give thanks for this most amazing day, for this most amazing gathering of infants and sages and children and youth and parents and empty nesters. Bless us this day as we move away from our common sanctuaries with the familiar faces and ways of being worshiping communities. Some of us crossing bridges and unfamiliar streets, some weighed down with backpacks of burden and busyness, trouble and turmoil, to take the risk of joining in a new and enlarged way of being Unitarian Universalists in the Capital District, to multiply the depth, joy, and hope that we find in our faith, and deepen the energy and love that we bring from our home congregations. May we find ways to build bridges to strengthen our beloved communities, that we may realize transformation in our lives, and a larger transformation toward a more just world. May we find ways to build bridges to those who seek us, those who need us, those who would find a sacred depth to their living as we have found, a soulful healing from the wounds of a troubled world. Let us join our hearts in a time of shared silence and find kinship in that. In the silence, may we feel our hearts beating to the rhythm of the cosmos that holds us all. So may it be.
I flew in from San Diego, so I think I'm the farthest away, right? But I didn't know it was going to be like this. I mean, you know, the Spirit has filled the room. And if I feel the joy and I feel the pride and I came from way far away, I know how you feel about it. And it's inside my heart and inside yours. And join me, and we got a release on 3 hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! I mean, for 3 years, you've been grinding to lay in the foundations of the bridge, to set the planks, and today we get to see the built bridge, and symbolically we get to cross the bridge. Last night we bridged young people into young adulthood, but today everybody gets in on the bridge. Everybody, children and youth and adults. Now you may be from Albany, and you may be from Glens Falls, and you may be from Saratoga Springs, and you may be from Schenectady, but today you're a CRUUNYite. You have signed up as a member of the Capital Region cluster, joining together to create more spiritual depth, social outreach, just simply more justice and joy in the Capital Region. You're a CRUUNYite. And let me show you what I mean in a different way. Different sizes. Children, youth, and adults, different sizes of congregations, different backgrounds, different ways of coming into our fold. If you have decided to become a CRUUNYite, and together, only together, we can build bridges. Alone, we can't build at all. The sturdiness, the strength. You're still Albany. You're still Glens Falls. Yeah. Glens Falls. You're still Saratoga Springs, and you're still Schenectady. So you don't lose anything in the deal, do you? You don't lose anything, you still go back to who you are. You're not alone. There are other clusters in Nashville, Tennessee right now. They're clustering together because together we can build bridges, and alone we don't build much at all. In New Haven, Connecticut, they're joining together to build bridges and to cross those bridges. And you aren't done. Today's just the beginning. There are more bridges to build, are there not? There are more bridges to cross, and there are new folks who are going to come in and see the bridge and want to be a part of that. Because we're into building bridges, not walls. And it's happening in Portland, Oregon. And it's happening in my home city of San Diego, California, where 6 of our congregations, children, youth, and adults, have said, we're into building bridges, not building walls. So I want you to know you're not alone. And there are cheers that I can hear right now, and perhaps you can too, across the land. Because we want to leave this region where we're planted, leave our earth lovelier and more beautiful for our having been here. Because we've chosen as CRUUNYites to build bridges. Blessings upon you.
Thank you, Tom, for commissioning our work together. We draw inspiration from the example of the San Diego cluster for our work that we're going forward with. Well, we've pulled out all the stops, putting together a beautiful service for you to enjoy. None of our congregation's sanctuaries were large enough to allow us to meet together, and we searched high and low for a suitable space. This is what we could afford and what we found. put this event together with quality instruments and sound cost us a little less than about $8 a person, maybe 7 with as many as I see out here today. And we decided we wouldn't spend $10 a person to get higher-end refreshments out there. Yet our congregations haven't budgeted the money for this event. We decided that the right thing to do was to ask the participants to help pay for it. Thus, the offering. We encourage you to help us pay for this splendid event through your generosity. If each person might put in a 20 or a 10 or maybe if you can only afford a 5, we'll be able to pay for all of this. Any checks need to be made out to FUUSA because we've already paid for this. If we have any extra money, it will go to help fund our first joint project, a marketing campaign we are envisioning for this coming fall. Already, lead donors have offered $16,000 to get the project off the ground. And you'll be hearing more about this very soon. So I encourage your generosity as we take up the offering now and enjoy some more beautiful music.
The song, Building Bridges, was written by a group of women during a Quaker sit-in at a nuclear energy plant in England. We would like you to sing Nick Page's adaptation with us as a song of peace and collaboration. The words and music are in your order of service, but keep an eye on us as well. Listen while the children sing the tune for you. Children will teach us all the tune, phrase by phrase, and the adult choir will sing along with you. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices, with all
on the tune.
Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all our voices and all our visions? Oh friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
If we build our bridges, break down division.
Break down division. And keep me whole.
If we make new friends and no more enemies, if we create harmony,
Create
Now, we will all sing the tune twice in unison, and 2 more times as a round, with this section of the congregation beginning. Please stay seated so you can see Sylvie Briber, because she is going to sing with you. This section of the congregation will enter third. Watch Kimberly Divas for your entrance. Remember, we will all sing the tune in unison twice, and bend around twice, and then stop. The choir concludes. Good luck!
Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all our voices and all our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
You'll find a responsive reading in your order of service. Please join with us in the italicized portions. Today, we have created a bridge across our geographic divisions.
We affirm the common Unitarian Universalist faith that binds us together.
We honor each unique heritage and traditions of our 4 congregations.
We appreciate the value offered and the benefit created when we share together our talents and strengths.
There may be fear and discomfort as we get to know each other.
The differences between us may deceive us into being competitive.
Together, we can create ease, comfort, and trust through common celebrations, joint projects and trainings, and a shared vision of the growth and development of Unitarian Universalism in the capital region.
We now think alike, worship alike, or look alike to love alike.
What will bind us together will be individual relationships that bridge our congregations.
We are ready to cross the bridges over the boundaries that separate us, so we might create a more perfect union between our congregations.
May all of us, as we admire this gathering of Capital Region Unitarian Universalists, sense the strength of our numbers and the potential for spreading our message of liberal religion.
Yes, with all our voices and all our visions, friends, we will make such sweet harmony.
And let us join in our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment, which is on the back of your program.
What a joy to see over 500 Unitarian Universalists here this morning. This is a day of celebration and blessing. This is a day where we have experienced the power, the growth, and the beauty of the beloved community. So let us go forth emboldened by our faith. Let us go forth renewed by the love we have shared together. And let us show the world our faith in action. For the world needs to be healed, and bridges need to be built. This is our calling. This is our task. May it be so. Amen.
Let us together now say the words for extinguishing the chalice. As we do this, may we sense our connection to one another and to the world. May we feel the peace and the joy of our coming together and of our departing. So we extinguish